And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great seeing you.
Let's talk a little bit about ISIS and its ability to attract fighters holding passports from the United Kingdom, the U.S., France. What does that mean to us?
Well, this means that this group is not just a threat in Baghdad or even Syria, but it's a real threat to the West because it's able to recruit fighters, train them, send them out, and then possibly redeploy them back west. The challenge for counterterrorism officials is identifying what are those recruitment lines look like, what's the radicalization or the at-risk populations that are being pulled into these battles and into these organizations, and who's coming back out to actually potentially attack their fellow citizens in the West. That's the big black hole here, and the fact is you've got thousands of these folks from the West entering the fight, and now estimates that ISIS itself, made up largely of Iraqis and Syrians, but also foreign fighters, have upwards of 15, maybe even 20,000 fighters as part of their organization.
So the number of foreign fighters that have joined ISIS, somewhere maybe around 5,000 is a good guess. Many of them from Western Europe. Maybe 100 or so is the best guess the FBI can tell us about Americans. But the real challenge here is to try to track all these people once they're done on the battlefield?
That first thing is, can you identify them on the front end before they even go? And the FBI has had a couple of these cases where they've arrested individuals en route and have been able to stop them from even getting to Syria, understanding what they were intending to do. But getting there is actually not that hard. You know, the routes really, as they've been identified by both foreign officials and the U.S., travel largely through Turkey. And so people can go to Turkey and probably should go to Turkey for vacation. It's a lovely country. But the reality is you can get there fairly easily and merely walk across the border. And some of the research we've done at CSIS demonstrates there's an entire industry to this, being able to turn in your passport, get paid for it. The passports then get reconfigured and sold to others heading back west. And so there's an entire sort of infrastructure to getting people in and out, money in and out. And it's very easy then to have people hidden in that mix. And the challenge then is who's coming out to potentially attack.
Now, there's no sign this is abating. It looks like the recruiting strategy is very successful. What is drawing all of these radicals to ISIS? Why is that now kind of like the place to be if you're a jihadist?
I think there's a couple factors, Bob. One, the cause in Syria has been seen as a justifiable jihad, a cause,
a legitimate
fight against an apostate regime, Assad, that has been atrocious, has been committing atrocities left and right, use of chemical weapons, and so there's a defensive jihadi dimension to this, and so that's attractive to some. There's also, frankly, jihadapalooza dimension to this, where you have fighters going in for just a weekend to say they've been there.
They're the rock stars now.
The rock stars. Yeah. And so they touch the conflict, they touch it, and then they come back out. So it's kind of a sexy, romantic dimension to this. The third part, which is probably the most dangerous, is that ISIS, with its ability to hold territory, first in Syria, now in Iraq, is demonstrating that the imaginings of a caliphate, a physical space that erases the old borders.
Bin Laden's dream.
Bin Laden's dream is actually possible. That this is a group that's making it a reality. That unlike Al-Qaeda, with which it's fought, and it's fought over this very issue, they've been able to actually establish a foothold and have begun to govern. And that reality of a caliphate, which has been part of the wild imaginings of Al-Qaeda from the 1990s on, is animating a lot of the international attention from these extreme groups that really like this idea and want to support it.
So in its early formative stage, because ISIS is still kind of a developing network, it's been pretty successful.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, though, it has learned from the mistakes of the past, the mistakes of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which was its antecedent. When it formed the Islamic State of Iraq, it learned some hard lessons as to how to govern in space, that it has to bake bread and mend wounds in addition to fight fiercely. And so this is a group that, in some ways, is trying to give reality to the fanciful imaginings of an Islamic caliphate. And unfortunately, they've begun to draw that connection between Syria and Iraq, and it's happening in the heart of the Middle East, which for jihadists is exactly where they want to fight.
Not a good situation for U.S. counterterrorism.
It's going to get worse, Bob, and we've got to have a concerted CT campaign with this as the focus. I just wonder if we've got the energy for it.
Juan, thanks as always.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'll see you next time.